Hi and welcome to A World of Words. I'm Vanessa and today I'm doing my March reading wrap-up. So I have a total of 6 books to talk about in this wrap-up, so let's go. I'm actually not going anywhere. The first book I have to talk about is The Battle of the Labyrinth by Riordan. This is the 4th book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series, and I enjoyed this book so much. I have been loving every single book in this series. It is amazing. I think I'm probably going to have to add this series to my own collection at some point. I was wondering how they were going to keep up the action in the labyrinth throughout the whole entire book, but they just did an amazing job. I also love how Annabeth was a big part of this book since she wasn't really in the last book all that much. They just met all these wacky people in that labyrinth and it was amazing. I love the different architecture of the labyrinth, and I love how the labyrinth went all these different places. The labyrinth was under real places. It wasn't like they went into a separate alternate dimension or anything like that. And I thought that was really interesting. Overall, I just thought this book was so well written, and that final battle at the end of it was really good and it was really exciting. And I love Mrs. O'Leary, the hellhound. She's just so cute. I love all of Rick Riordan's mythical creature characters because they could all talk. Well, Mrs. O'Leary can't talk, but Blackjack can talk, and there are just so many great mythological characters and they just add so much to it and are so entertaining. It's so much fun and I really love this series. For some reason my allergies are going crazy today, so if my nose is weird and red looking, that's why. I'm sorry. Okay, for the life of me, I cannot stop sneezing, so I had to turn my air filter back on. I usually try and keep it off while filming, so hopefully the noise isn't too distracting. So the next book I have to talk about is Dumplin by Julie Murphy. I listened to this audiobook, and the audiobook was fine. I enjoyed this book, but I thought I would like it a little bit more than I actually did. It seemed to be advertised as a cute, empowering book about a plus-size girl who enters a beauty pageant and sort of goes against the standards of beauty, and her and her group of friends who aren't your typical beauty queen girls all enter the beauty pageant, and it seemed like it was supposed to be a kind of female empowerment type book and also have a cute romance in it. But my main issue with it was that I didn't love the main character. I felt like she was kind of hypocritical in that she would complain throughout the book about people judging and making fun of her for her weight, which of course you're upset if somebody is making fun of you. But then what I didn't like about her was that there was another girl in the book who was bigger than her, and throughout the book, and she would constantly be making fun of that girl in her head and say at least I'm not that fat, she dresses weird, and all this other stuff. And then also when she had an argument with her own best friend, she pretended to be that girl's friend so she wouldn't be alone. She never made fun of her to her face, but throughout the book she would have little remarks. There were other girls too that she was hanging out with because she was in a fight with her actual best friend, and then she would just make fun of all of them, and it seemed like she was acting like she's better than them for all these different reasons. She was pretty petty, I guess is the right word, and I really didn't like her that much as a character. So when you don't really like the main character, it's kind of hard to enjoy the book. And also the beauty pageant part of it didn't happen until the very end of the book, and also the romance was also not my favorite. It was okay, and again, the main character had the same problem with replacing people, because there was a guy she really liked, and then there was this other guy who was perfectly nice and wanted to date her, and so she dated him when she couldn't be with the guy she really liked, and was kind of leading him on because she couldn't be with the person she really wanted. So she had all these replacement friends and people in her life that she obviously did not care about, and it didn't sit right with me. I really don't like it. People are using people just so they have somebody to hang out with, but they clearly don't actually like them. Though that's pretty much my opinion on the book, is all I'm really going to say about it. The next book I read was The Beast is an Animal by Peternelle van Arsdale. This book is actually an ARC. I received it at YALLFest for free. It was very interesting. I can't say it's my favorite book, but I could not put it down. It's in this fantasy world that it's this small, like very old medieval setting, and it's a small town where there's like the beast in the forest, this creature that is like very supposedly evil and kind of their version of the devil, I think. And then there are the soul eaters, which are these creepy girls turned weird supernatural creatures that come at night and they will like suck out your soul. I thought it was a kind of creepy fantasy, but I think it's definitely more horror. And it was very, very well written. It was not exactly what I was expecting, because like, in the back made it seem like it was paranormal adventure sort of book, but it mostly took place in one place. You also spent quite a bit of time in the main character Alice's childhood, which took place when she was like 7, then when she was 12, and then when she was 16. I don't think it's 100% my kind of book, because it's a very like atmospheric read. So if you're looking for something different and atmospheric, then this might be something you would like. The ending fell a little flat for me. The main conflict was over and solved in, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was just like solved very quickly, it seemed like, and kind of in a weird, convenient way. It's not my favorite book, but it was very interesting. It was a really interesting reading experience, and I think the author is pretty good at writing description and atmosphere and everything, and it was creepy, so I think that makes sense, hopefully. This book didn't make much sense, so I guess it's okay that my review doesn't make much sense. I'm glad I read it, but I don't think it's just very weird. The next book I have to talk about is one of my like most anticipated reads of, I think, February is when it came out, and that is Wires and Nerve by Marissa Meyer. I should tell you what it is. It's a graphic novel. See pictures. And it is a continuation of the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, but in graphic novel form, and it focuses on Eco, the android character, who I thought was pronounced Ico, but when I went to a Marissa Meyer event, she pronounced it Eco, so I'm going to take the author's pronunciation on it. And it's about Eco, and she has like this adventure. Oh, I can't say because of Lunar Chronicle spoilers. What can I say? So it does actually continue the Lunar Chronicles, and we do see everybody here, which is really fun, and it was really fun and it was really cute. I read a bunch of reviews after I read it, and people had the complaint that it was almost like caricatures of the main characters, and then the drawing also wasn't exactly how like you pictured them. The drawing was a very simple drawing style, and all the characters did have kind of the same face shape, and I do really understand all of that. It's not the same as the Lunar Chronicles. Whenever they adapt a book into a graphic novel, it loses a little bit of like the charm of the book. I have read continuation graphic novels before. Avalon High by Meg Cabot is the main one that I'm talking about, and it's just not the same as the book, so I didn't actually expect it to be as good as the book. I really enjoyed it for what it was. It also seems more like child-friendly, so I think it could be marketed towards younger viewers as well, and that's part of what they were doing with it. I thought it was really fun and funny, and the drawing style stopped bothering me after the beginning. I do want to show you an example of what I'm talking about with the drawing style. My favorite part was so like these wolf monsters are the antagonists in this, and like, I don't know why, but I find them completely adorable. I don't know why, I just think they're really, really cute, so they amuse me. So like, this is like the drawing style. A lot of, Ico's pretty cute, but I didn't really like, Cress is over there, and Thorn. So it's just a very, very simple, very cartoony looking drawing style. And I really like manga, and especially shoujo manga, which is super like gigantic eyes and really detailed hair, like really flowy, pretty fabric clothing. That's my favorite kind of drawing style to read about. So this was a little bit more of like a standard, simple American cartoon type drawing style that is not my favorite, but it had personality and it had a lot of funny moments. So I did enjoy this. It was fun, and I feel like any fan of the Lunar Chronicles would enjoy this, so you may as well give it a shot. Next book I have to talk about is another audiobook, and that is The Siren by Kiera Cass. She is the same author as the Selection series, and so I was really interested to see what she did with a more fantasy style book. And I do know that this was originally a self-published book, and she originally wrote it for the Selection, and then I guess it was edited and then republished. I don't really know the entire story. So this book is about a girl who is a siren, which is different from a mermaid. It is another mythological creature. Basically, the sirens belong to the ocean. They are girls who are rescued by the ocean and turned immortal for like 100 years. In return for their immortality, they have to sing and sink ships in order to like feed the ocean, and then after 100 years they are free to live out their life as like a normal girl, and then they won't have any memory of themselves being the sirens, and there are like roughly 5 or 6 sirens I think at a time. And then of course it's about a girl who ends up meeting a boy and falling in love with him, but she cannot talk while she is in the presence of a human because her voice will like cause them to want to go into the ocean and die. I was expecting it to be a little bit more dramatic, I guess, than it was. I don't know what exactly I was expecting, but it was a little bit disappointing for me. I feel like not that much happened. Also, the narrator wasn't the best in this audiobook. It was a little bit distracting. A lot of the girls' voices were like really, really high, and then the ocean's voice was kind of like weird and creepy. Because the ocean can talk in this. The ocean is actually a character in this book. It wasn't my favorite. I feel like the romance was cute, and I actually ended up getting pretty attached to the characters by the end, which is a great thing about Kiera Cass, is like even if the book isn't your favorite, for some reason you get super invested in the characters. They get like choked up by the ending and everything, or at least that's how I feel all the time. Even if I'm irritated throughout the book, by the end I'm like, why can't they all just be happy? There was a lot of middle. I feel like it could have been a lot more action-packed, and it wasn't. So I guess that's all I really have to say about that one. Yeah. And then the last book I read in March was Unhooked by Lisa Maxwell, and this is a retelling of Peter Pan where it's not about Wendy, but as this other girl goes to a version of Neverland that is much creepier than the original story led you to believe it was, and it's full of like these dark creatures, and then it's kind of a twist on you don't know if you should actually trust Captain Hook, who's like a much younger, attractive version of Captain Hook. Like I was picturing Hook from Once Upon a Time the whole time as him. Even though that actor's a little bit older than this character, but that's still how I pictured him. And then Peter Pan is like kind of a creepier version of Peter Pan. But I didn't picture him as Peter Pan from Once Upon a Time because I think he was supposed to be a bit older than that. It was pretty interesting. I think I expected a little bit more to happen in this book. I did enjoy it, and the writing kept me interested the whole time. And I really liked the descriptions of Neverland and the creepy creatures. There were like these creepy fairy type creatures, and there were these shadow creatures, and then there were the fae. Like I don't want to spoil too much about it, but like what happened with the main character was pretty interesting and pretty surprising. I really liked the twists on all of the characters. Like the twist on Tinkerbell was really interesting. It actually took me a while to figure out that like that was the Tinkerbell character, because she was just so different than the original Tinkerbell that we think of. And then like of course I like the twists on like Captain Hook and Peter Pan, and like you don't know which one is the good guy and which one is the bad guy. That was really interesting, and there was a lot of really interesting things going on here. I do feel like the ending was a little bit rushed and everything kind of wrapped itself up a little bit too quickly. There was a lot of explanation throughout most of it. Like action would happen, but it wasn't the main action, and then there was a lot of like explanation, and then she finds out like what's going on, and then once she finds out exactly what's going on, all of a sudden things just like happen really fast, and then it's like over. If you like Peter Pan retellings or fairy tale retellings, you'll probably enjoy this just for the sake of the twists on the characters, because that was really interesting. But if you don't really like Peter Pan retellings and aren't super interested in any of that, like if you're looking for a super action-packed romance, or if you're looking for something, this was described as being a little bit darker than it actually was. I usually don't like dark things, but when they say it's going to be like dark and creepy, I expect dark and creepy. And it was like a little dark-ish, but it wasn't as dark and as creepy as I expected it to be. So that was a little disappointing, but I did overall enjoy this book, and I'm glad I read it. So those are all the books I read in March. I think it was a pretty good reading month. Apparently, a lot of the books I read were not my favorite. I still think it's a good reading month because most of them, my problems with the book were just the problem with the ending. So I was actually enjoying myself while reading pretty much every single one of these books. The audiobooks weren't my favorites, but all of the physical books, I enjoyed myself immensely while I was reading them, and then it's the endings that kind of were like, oh well. And there were some different books in here, so that I'm glad I gave them a shot. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, your thoughts on them in the comments below. And you could also let me know what you read in March if you would like to, and then we can just discuss them if you have any good recommendations. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I upload new videos on Mondays and every other Friday, plus the occasional surprise video, so please subscribe if you would like to see more of my videos. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye!